Hey Aubrey, how's it going? How are ya?
I'm excellent. I have a fun question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
When's the last time you were salty?
Oh, salty, salty. Wow, good question. I can be a little salty, a little testy sometimes, especially when it comes to, yeah, I guess, yeah, game playing, cheating in games, that kind of thing. That can come
That's
out
me too.
sometimes.
That's when I get salty. Just yesterday with my siblings, if someone disagrees about a rule, sometimes people are like super chill, like I'm fine with whatever. I'm not always that way. If I feel
Yeah.
like there's a way that makes a lot more sense and someone's
Yes.
really pushing back, I'll get a little testy.
Get
I'll
a
get a
little
little
testy.
salty. And then if
Yes.
I don't get my way, right? If people decide to go with with a
Oh,
different way and I disagree or something feels unfair, that's when I really get
then it's
salty. I
even
get kind
worse.
of yeah.
Yeah. You
It's
go
hard
from
to just
salty to
immediately be okay with
testy.
it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is great. Why are we talking about a table condiment right now, Aubrey? What
I
are we
know,
even
right?
talking about?
Salt? This
Yeah.
is slang, guys, and it's new slang. We got a really great question about this word, and
Yes.
natives are using it more and more, as well as some other new slang words that we are going to share today so that you guys understand them when you hear them and can use them in conversation.
Yeah, not only are we going to show you the words, we're going to show you the intonation that goes along with it too, right? When this word is spoken, you're a little salty today, right? There's an intonation there
Hmm.
that's really fun to use, guys. We're going to show you everything you need to know. But first, Aubrey, what should our listeners make sure they do right now so they don't miss a single episode of All Ears English?
Yes, guys, hit follow wherever you listen to your podcast. 4 episodes every week. You don't want to miss any of them. So follow All Ears English wherever you find podcasts.
You got it. All right. This is a great question. I'm going to read the question from Kenan Okagawa from Japan. Here we go. Are you ready, Aubrey?
Yes.
Here we go. I am Kenan Okagawa, originally from Japan and studying currently in the US. My American friends often use an adjective salty, not as a description of taste, but in the other meaning. I looked it up in the Urban Dictionary, but they explained it in so many ways that I got confused. Could you teach me how to naturally use the word salty? Thank you. What a good question. I'm excited about this one because I love it when our listeners send in questions that are so incredibly up to date.
Yes, exactly right. This is newer slang. We've talked
Yeah.
lately in a few episodes about some words that are going out of style, so
Yeah.
that aren't used as much. All the words we're sharing today, you're going to hear them a lot on TV, on social media. People are using them
Hmm.
a lot. It's new slang that's getting very popular.
Exactly. This is so good. And did you mention this in the IELTS Energy podcast over there with Jessica? You guys are over there twice a
Yes.
week. Where did you mention it over there? What does it have to do
Yeah.
with IELTS?
We shared it as a really great adjective to use on IELTS, right? Salty just means annoyed or irritated. And it's a very good adjective for the IELTS exam because you have to use slang to get that variety of vocabulary. So it's
Yes.
episode 977 called The Skinny on Slang for speaking part one, because we also talked about the skinny, shook, flex, some other new slang.
Right.
So don't miss that to get some of that great new slang too.
New slang. This is why we don't learn English through textbooks anymore, right? Because the textbooks cannot teach you new slang, right? This is where you get it right here at All Ears English. So good. All
Yes,
right.
language is evolving,
It's
right? You got to
evolving.
learn how natives actually use it.
Exactly, Aubrey. So, what would be, let's get into a little more context around salty for our listeners.
Yeah, let's give some examples. So, just like
Okay.
Lindsay and I were saying, if you get irritated or annoyed about something, this is a
Hmm.
great, it's a little more playful to
Yeah.
say, oh, he's salty instead of he's annoyed or he's irritated, right? You might say,
Yes.
he got really salty when I took the last shopping cart. Imagine you're grocery shopping, you take the last one and you see the person behind you is super annoyed. That'd be a
Oh,
fun way to tell a friend, like, ooh, he got kind of salty when I did
yeah,
that.
the look of death, right? People can say a lot with their facial expressions. I think sometimes people don't
Totally.
realize how much they say. I try to tone down my facial expressions because I think I'm really expressive and too much. People get the wrong ideas sometimes about things. And it's just not good. Like, we gotta just calm down a little bit
Yes,
sometimes.
I'm the same. I'm super expressive. You can tell exactly what I'm thinking. Sometimes I'm like, okay, chill the face, chill the face,
The
everything's
face.
fine.
Right? Don't you wish you were a bit more of a closed book? Like people couldn't quite
Yes.
know what was going on, like a little more mysterious. I kind
I
of wish
know I
that
will have
sometimes.
someone say like, "Oh, did that upset you?" Upset. I'm like, "Oh, I didn't want them to know that upset me. Why can't I control my face?"
It's all right here. I know. I hate that. Oh no. Yeah. So is this? Here's a question about salty. Is this
Hmm.
used more often to describe a woman or a man, or is it both, would you say?
I feel equal. I feel like it's
Okay.
very gender neutral, right? Anybody who's irritated, I would
Yeah.
describe them as salty. And it's
Salty.
fun just to use it alone, right? If you see someone that's upset, you might just be like, ooh, you're salty, right? If you see they're just a little irritated, a little frustrated, and it often diffuses the situation because it's playful. If you called them out and said, oh, you're clearly annoyed, you're irritated, that wouldn't, it's not playful. It might make it worse. But saying,
Yes.
oh, playfully, you're a little salty, they might
Yeah,
chuckle,
that
they
is
might
fun.
laugh and be like, you're right. That's so silly that I'm upset.
Yeah, guys, that's a connection strategy, right? Put a little humor into things. Don't always make it so immediately stressful if someone's upset. There's another way that I like to use salty, more about kind of just a person in general in an endearing way. So I envision, so over the weekend we were up in Frisco, Colorado. We went camping, and we ended up in a little shop, a Boston sandwich shop. And the lady at the front desk was she's just a typical salty Boston woman, older Boston woman. Like she had her Boston accent coming out. They had pictures of all the sports, all the like Bruins,
Nice.
the Red Sox, everything up there. She's like, "What do you want?" Right? Like right just up front, just wanted the order, no nonsense. But it's not an insult. It just means she's a little salty, a little like fast. Give me your order, right? I just want your order and I want to take your money. Let's go. And here's your food. It's good food. Everything's fine. But she's a little salty.
Yes, right. This is a little, and I can see why. This is why Kanon Okegawa wrote
Yeah.
this in, because when you see on Urban Dictionary, there are sort of multiple uses. It's really not
Yes.
that straightforward to say it always means irritated.
Yes.
Because this woman, she's probably not really irritated. She's
No,
just like a
just her
no nonsense,
personality.
tell
Yes.
it like it is. She's not super cheerful. She's not smiling at you and saying,
Exactly.
right? And we
Exactly.
would also call that salty. So it's
Yes.
a little more like no nonsense, serious
No
as well,
nonsense.
whether you're irritated or not.
Yeah, this is something you're going to probably find a lot more on the East Coast than the West Coast. Speaking of, the
Totally.
geography of the United States, we had a guest on recently who talked about New York City etiquette and etiquette crimes in New York City. And one of them was spending too much time in the deli line. You may encounter someone
yeah.
salty behind the deli bar, so don't spend too much time ordering your deli sandwich in New York City. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
or the person behind you might get salty. If
Yes,
you're taking
New
too
Yorkers
long, they're going to be like, hurry it up.
themselves.
We got things to do.
They can get salty. So guys, this is not just for a moment in time of a mood. It's also to describe an actual person and kind of their permanent character, but it's not an insult exactly. All right?
No,
So, good
exactly. It's
stuff.
playful. It's
It's
fun,
playful.
right?
Yeah.
Though you might get an earful if you tell that lady to her face that you think she's salty.
Oh, I would never do
I
that.
wouldn't risk it.
I would never do that.
Okay, let's do another one. This one's really fun. Teenagers especially are using it all the time, but I'm starting to see it everywhere. TV, movies,
It
hear it
is,
on the
yeah.
radio. It's the word bougie.
Yep.
Which means it's sort of marked by a concern for wealth, possessions, maybe respectability.
Yeah.
And we use it as an adjective to describe people as well as things, decorations, food. I've heard avocado toast described as bougie.
So true.
Because it's like a little fancier, right?
Yes, yes, I love this. It's so true. Yeah, and this is being used a lot more in my world too. I'm hearing this a lot more. So I totally concur with you here, Aubrey, that this is English of the moment. Right?
Totally. Yeah. You guys want to understand what people mean and be able to use it. It's actually short for bourgeoisie, the
Good
bourgeoisie,
pronunciation.
the French word meaning middle class. It began as a reference for those who preferred to live in cities in France instead of the countryside. And now it's used to refer to sort of the materialistic middle class a little bit,
Yeah.
which falls below those who are very wealthy, right?
Right.
But we most often in the United States, when people say bougie, they're not thinking about the bourgeoisie, whether that's where this word came from
No,
or not.
no,
They
no,
just
no.
are wanting to say like, oh, you think you're fancy, or oh, that's a little
Yeah.
fancy, right?
Or you just have a nice like pair of pajamas. Ooh, bougie pajamas,
bougie.
right? Like they look expensive and comfortable or something.
Yeah, exactly. Let's use a couple examples. This is
Yes.
perfect, right? To say, my mom is going wine tasting with her bougie friends.
Okay,
right?
so that's good. So they're just being used as an adjective. right? So good. In front of a noun. I love that. Interesting.
Yes.
Describing the
And
friends.
like this, it has to do with a little bit with what they're doing. It's a little bit bougie to go wine tasting because it's
Yeah.
sort of denoting a certain amount of wealth.
Yeah.
But also her friends, right? We're not talking about her, I don't know, country friends that are, if her friends are a little bougie because they like wine tasting, right? The type of women who would like to go wine tasting, you can call them bougie.
A little bougie. Yeah, it's a little expensive at times to go wine tasting, right?
Yeah.
So that would qualify as a bougie activity. And avocado toast also does because it can be very overpriced.
Exactly right. Look at
down-
him with his bougie avocado toast.
That's a great one. The little cafe down the street from my house, I do not buy food there because I think they charge you like $19 for an avocado toast. It's crazy.
That's crazy. That's very bougie.
Yeah. Guys,
Because
look.
they're putting all this other fancy stuff on it, right?
Right. There's just like cayenne pepper and all these things. Guys, check out the episode that I did with Anna Tyree about breakfast and how breakfast has changed in the US and the UK. We talked about bougie, boozy brunch in the US and how this this has
Love it.
become a trend in the United States, this bougie atmosphere of fancy food for brunch
Totally.
and booze and drinks and all of that stuff. So check that episode out. All right.
I have to share with you guys 2 quick examples since I wrote this episode just a couple days ago that
gosh.
my daughter used, both of these.
Whoa.
We were making crepes for 4th of July breakfast with like
Okay.
Nutella and strawberries, and she just walked in and was like, ooh, bougie, just to have crepes, right? Just that the breakfast was a little nice, a little fancy, chocolate and strawberries on a crepe, like
That's
French,
nice.
bougie.
Yeah, I love that. And what's
And
the
then
other
one
example?
more, we were getting dressed to go out for dinner. I'm not looking that fancy, but maybe I have earrings on and some nice
earrings.
shoes. And she just said, "Ooh, you're looking bougie."
Bougie. That's how you know a word is coming back into style. The kids are using it all the time, right?
All the time.
That's
Yes,
so funny.
fun.
But this is not a word that's going to make you sound like a teenager either. That's the thing I like about these 2 words so far. Yes, the teenagers are using it a lot, but it's not going to make you sound like you're 17, guys, if you're using it either, right? It's not
I
a
agree.
young person word.
It's definitely trending, but anyone can say it. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, don't say that unless you're a teenager.
Right, exactly. I love that. It's important. Okay, good. So, all right, Aubrey, we have another word. I'm excited for this one. What is this that we want to teach our listeners?
It's really fun. So tea, or spilling the tea, which means sharing gossip or maybe a dramatic story. It's really similar to the more outdated expression, spill the beans. We don't really say that anymore. People now would be like, spill the tea, meaning like, tell me the news.
Oh, this is so funny. Okay, you're going to laugh at me so much, but until now, I actually thought that this expression was spill the tea, like tea standing for something. I don't know what. I didn't know what it was.
That's so adorable, Lindsay. I probably only know because my daughter. No, that's not true. I've listened to a couple podcasts where I feel like they say this all the time, like, we've got some tea for you guys.
Yes.
We're going to spill the tea, but you just didn't realize it's tea.
I thought it was tea, and I didn't know what the T stood for. I was like, what is that? So I've been
funny.
hearing this a
Now
lot.
you
All right,
know, Lindsay.
I'm
You
learning
learned
so
something
much
today.
on this show from you, Aubrey. It's great. I love it. All right, so sharing gossip. Here's some examples, right? You won't believe what I found out. I have got the tea. And in my head, that would have been just the letter T,
Letter
but no,
T, which,
that's
I don't know.
wrong.
What's that stand for? Here's another one. Spill the tea. I want to know what happened on your date. So this is a great way to say, like, give me the good, give me the news. Spill the tea.
That's so funny. Okay, I love it. So guys, also very common. I'm hearing this even just within my own house in the last couple of weeks. So we could not get more current than we are now.
And again, right? Not just teenagers saying this. I'm hearing it on podcasts, TV,
Yeah.
movies. You'll hear this all the time. Use it, right? And now you're going to know that it's not the letter T, like Lindsay thought.
100%. I love it. All right. And the next one, I think we've touched on this on another episode, guys, about dating, but this is good because, again, something that the kids are using and adults are using too, ghosting or ghosted. What does this mean, Aubrey?
Yeah, it means to stop communication or interaction with someone, usually via social media or text. So you might say, like, I haven't heard from her in days. I think she ghosted me. Means
Right.
I might never hear from her again. She isn't texting me.
Yeah, we definitely don't recommend doing this, guys. It's so mean, right? The dating world is hard, but don't do this to people. It's so mean. Here's the next example. I never texted him back. He's probably mad I ghosted him, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly right. You're right. It is mean. It's so much better to communicate and be honest and open, but it's so much easier to just
It's
ghost
so much
somebody.
easier. I know, just to not.
Oh,
Yes. Okay, here's a question. When do you think it qualifies as ghosting? Like, okay, how many usually it's usually on a like in a date situation, a dating situation most
more
of the
often,
time, right?
yes, for
So,
sure.
at what point after how many dates in your mind, Aubrey, does it qualify as ghosting?
I think
After
after one date,
just
like you go
one.
on one
Okay.
date, if you
Yeah.
never hear them, like if you're texting, like that was really fun, I'd love to go out again, and you never hear them from them
It's
again, they
ghosting.
ghosted you.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Fair
Do you
enough.
think?
I guess that
Agree?
makes sense. Yeah. I think you're right. I was thinking maybe it should have been 3 dates where it would merit a
Like a little
response, but I think
serious?
everyone
No.
deserves a reply. If they spent even an
Yeah.
hour with you, they deserve, like, oh, this isn't going to work out for me. Just be honest. You know what I mean, guys?
Right?
Yeah.
I know. I would actually prefer something a little harsh and blunt, like, so sorry, it's not going to work out, rather than waiting and
Yes.
checking your text messages every few minutes.
It's
Oh,
the
it's terrible to
worst.
be in that place.
It's the worst. It's the worst. So, Aubrey, should we go into a role play for our listeners?
Yeah, let's do it. So here we're coworkers chatting
Hmm.
during a lunch break, which brings up the good point that all of this is appropriate for that informal conversation you have with
Oh
coworkers
my gosh,
over
100%.
coffee, over lunch, definitely.
More than appropriate. We want you to use these guys
Yes.
because this is how you build real connection. It's not through the formal English that we teach you in our business course, right? Although in that business course, we do teach you informal English too. It's through these moments of connection, these informal moments where you're commenting on someone's bag. Oh, bougie, where'd you get it? I like it,
Yes.
right? Things like that. Here
Yeah,
we,
and I know sometimes listeners might worry that's like, ooh, if it's slang, I
yeah,
don't know if people could be offended. Like you don't know. All of
right.
these are not offensive,
No,
are
no,
fun and playful, and yeah, so
you're good to
these
go.
all can be used
You're
for
in the
sure.
safe zone here with these
Yes.
words, guys. So here, you and I are coworkers, and we're chatting during that lunch break, as we said. Okay, here we go. So how did your date go last week,
Oh,
Aubrey?
not great. It was kind of a weird date.
Oh yeah, we'll spill the tea.
Well, he was super late. You know I hate that.
Oh, I hate that too. I get pretty salty when people aren't on time.
Yeah, and then he was super bougie, bragging about his new BMW. He even told me how much he spent on his shoes.
Ooh, so no second date.
Nope, I totally ghosted him. Which I wouldn't actually do that. I would have let him know. Maybe,
Oh
no,
my
I
god.
probably would. I don't know. I haven't dated in a long time, guys.
Yeah, I
I
know.
would maybe be the one that ghosts somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like
Sounds like
confrontation.
maybe. That's funny. Yeah, no, guys. So this is important to know. Talking about how much you spent on something. We've talked about this on the podcast with Michelle before. That's definitely a faux pas, really, in any situation. Unless you're with someone you're very close to and you're discussing a deal, right? You
That's
both want that
different.
item. That's a different thing. That's a special situation. But anytime you never want to talk about, oh, this cost me X amount of money, right?
Right.
We don't want
Either
to do.
telling someone how much you spent or asking someone how much they
Oh,
spent are
yes.
both just awkward. Don't do
Yes.
it.
Don't do it, guys. Avoid it, especially in American culture. But in other cultures, Aubrey, I mean, what about for example, in French culture, in Belgium? I mean, do you know if it's okay to talk about that in those
I never
cultures?
heard it come up in polite conversation. Nobody ever asked me how much I spent on something or how
Right.
much I make and vice versa. So I feel like all of the cultures that I've really gotten to know well, it also is just not something that you would talk
Not in good
about.
taste.
It
Yeah.
sounds a little braggy if you're saying how
Braggy.
much, and it's just a little inappropriate to ask someone else what they're spending
Yeah.
on the house or
Exa-
shoes or anything.
yeah, it's like bad taste. It's in bad
Yeah, it's
taste, I
just
would
in
say.
bad taste.
Good.
I agree.
So let's go back through these words here. So spill the tea, as we know, it's TEA. It's that stuff you put in your cup. Okay. So spill the tea. So you said not great. It was kind of a weird date. Oh, yeah. And I said, oh, yeah, spill the tea. Right.
Meaning, like, tell me the details, right? That's
Yes.
what this means. Spill the tea. Give me all the dirt. Give me all the gossip.
Give me all the gossip. Yes. Perfect. And then what did I say, Aubrey?
Then you said, ooh, I get pretty salty when people aren't on time. And this is one for me, right? Especially if it's kind of urgent, like we need to get somewhere else, I'm waiting.
Yes.
I do get a little salty. I get a
Get
little irritated if
salty.
people aren't on time.
Yes, me too. I like to be on time. I like to be on
Yeah,
time.
me too.
And then you said, and then he was super bougie, bragging about his his new BMW, and he even told me how much he spent on his shoes.
And I
So
think this is
bougie.
good to note. Like, this is definitely being used more negatively here, right? I'm saying, ugh, he's so bougie, bragging about his fancy BMW. I
Right.
certainly could have said it in a positive note if I had liked the date and be like, ooh, he took me to this bougie restaurant that was
Yeah.
awesome, right?
Yes.
So, there isn't necessarily a connotation built into the word bougie. It all depends
Right.
on context. It can be a very good thing, or it can be
Yes.
kind of a bad thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then I said, so no second date? And you said, nope, I totally ghosted him. Now, we can talk another day here, but you put totally right in before
Mm.
ghosted. How does that change the meaning, real quick, for a bonus for our
Yeah,
listeners?
so this is kind of me being silly and playful, right? Because I could just say I ghosted him, but that's
Yeah.
kind of serious. That sounds
Yes.
mean. And
Yeah.
I recognize that this is something I probably shouldn't have done. So I'm using
Hmm.
totally to make it a little more playful.
Yes.
Pronunciation would also be like I totally ghosted him,
Yeah.
like trying to be funny. And I'm sort of feeling like he deserved it because he was a
Right.
jerk bragging about how much he spent on his shoes.
Totally. And that's something you could do on the IELTS exam too, Aubrey, right? To
Oh yeah.
increase your pronunciation score, adding that
Yes.
totally and then
We
changing
highly
your
recommend
pronunciation.
having like
Yeah.
super, way, totally in
Yeah.
order to use those easy adjectives that are very slang to get that variety of vocab for a 7 or higher on IELTS.
Yeah, I think that is a really, really smart way to go about the IELTS exam. Guys, go and find the IELTS Energy podcast over there. Jessica and Aubrey are over there twice a week. So good. What's the takeaway for our listeners today?
Yeah, it's just like you were saying, English is constantly evolving and slang is constantly evolving, right? Some of it
Yes.
goes out of style, other words get adopted. It's really important to know which ones you can and should be using and which ones we want to leave for the teenagers. There's so many my daughter says that I wouldn't say she would be mortified if I
Yeah.
said them, right? Like
Yeah.
sus is a good example.
Oh,
She'll
that
be
one.
like, "Oh, you're sus," meaning
Oh,
sort of like suspicious. Leave that for the
wow. Yeah,
teenagers.
leave that
We're
for
not going to
them.
teach you to
No.
use that. You want to know which ones you can use, right?
Yeah, we're showing you ones that, again, like I already said, not going to make you sound like a teenager.
Right.
Adults use this, and we use slang because there's kind of an in-group out-group thing going on when we use slang, guys, right? This is what language does, and we want you to be on the inside in connection with your coworkers, with your friends, with these people. And so when you use this slang, it creates kind of, I don't know, a familiarity between you and that person. So use
Yes,
them and have fun
exactly.
with
You're
it.
bringing them into
Yeah.
your inner circle. Like we're
Yes.
both aware of this word that's very inside American culture, new and
Mhm.
trending. Without having
Yes.
to say that, it's just automatic. You just know, like, okay, we're
Yeah.
both on the inside here.
So take the chance, guys. Take the risk. Practice these. Use them and see what happens. And then let us know. All right. Good stuff. All right, Aubrey. Good times as always. I will see you on the next one very soon.
Awesome. Bye bye,
Take care.
Lindsay.
Bye.